And hello, everyone. This is Antony S Scandale, and I'm the author of my book, Let Go, A Little Guidebook to Freedom. And today I have a wonderful guest who I met a few weeks ago. Her name is Dr. Eva Selhub, and she's internationally recognized resiliency expert, physician, author, speaker, scientist, and consultant. Dr. Eva engages her clients and her audiences with her powerful energy, words of wisdom, and scientific knowledge to activate the 5 pillars of resilience: physical, mental, spiritual, relationship, and team to achieve optimal resilience, success, health, and happiness. Board certified internal medicine, Dr. Eva served as an instructor at medicine at Harvard Medical School, as a clinical associate of the world-renowned Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital for close to 20 years, serving as a medical director for 6 of those years. And now Dr. Selhub is now working with clients, corporations, scientific colleagues to redefine the ways in which we approach resilience to a model that incorporates alternative approaches to health, as well as a concept of fitness that is not achieved only physically, but also mentally and spiritually. So without further ado, thank you very much, Eva, for coming here today. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Enjoying the summer.
Oh, good. Wonderful. So, and I guess you're in Boston at the moment, correct?
I am.
How's the weather there?
It's hot. But I like it this way. It's today it's hot and dry. It's been hot and humid, so today it's quite beautiful.
Awesome. Today I just want to talk to you about stress because for me as a life coach to help people alleviate stress, and I know this is a common thing, especially with the way technology is moving and that it seems as though we don't have enough time. But first of all, I guess the first question would be is can we really avoid stress?
Why would we want to? Should I throw a question with a question?
Go for it, yeah.
Why would you want to avoid stress? Without it, you'd be dead. I think people give stress a really bad rap, and they forget that without stress, there would be nothing in life. Stress is basically that little itch inside of you that says change is necessary, which means if you didn't have that little itch, you wouldn't, eat, and you wouldn't put on any warm clothes, and you wouldn't innovate. You wouldn't say, hey, I want to do something different. You wouldn't move. You would be inert, and essentially you would be dead. So I think what people don't realize is that there's different forms of stress. There's the stress that we need to survive, the stress that we need to be motivated to do great things, to climb mountains, run marathons, or simply just live our lives. And then there's the stress that we don't believe we can manage, which ends up being the stress that hurts us. And so the perception of stress is really the issue, not so much stress itself.
Right. I've been that person where I was so stressed out because I wasn't sure about my job and where I was going. It got to the point where I felt like I was depressed, but I couldn't just reach out and talk to someone about it. So I was lucky enough to meet someone who helped me kind of calm down a bit, and he gave me a bunch of different ways to de-stress. But when it comes down to de-stressing, because for me, it's like, okay, what I like to do is to go for a walk. So what's one thing one person can do when they're just overall just stressed out about what's going on in their life?
So I really, really want to work on the language.
Okay.
So I'm going to answer this question, but I want to answer it differently. And for the listeners, really change your language. It's not stress. It's the issue. You're giving it a bad name. It's perception of stress and the stress response. It's the physiological response that's created by stress. When the brain perceives that there's stress, the physiological response that releases adrenaline, cortisol, amongst many other things, creates physiological changes that then initiates the action to achieve change. If the change is positive, it can then make sure the stress response is turned off because the stress is actually taken care of. So you're hungry, you eat something,
right.
You're not hungry anymore. So that stress is taken care of and the body's brought back into a state of balance. That's the goal for everything in life. We're always looking to get that comfort and get that relief. So stress becomes a problem when relief cannot be found. So it's usually because we don't know what it is we're really stressed about, or whatever it is we're stressed about, we see no solution to. So it's when stress doesn't have a solution that is problematic, not when stress has a solution. If stress has a solution, we deal with it, and it's motivating, it's
Right.
exciting, it's fun. Okay, so it's not stress that's the issue, it's the perception of its manageability and whether or not it then is managed. So there's a lot of stress that's happening in the world that isn't managed by every individual because they're not managing it. Like they're not eating healthy foods, which is creating inflammation. So that becomes an unmanageable stress. Or you're not sleeping enough, so lack of sleep becomes an unmanageable stress. So it's a buildup of unmanageable stress that creates the problem. So the question is, what are some ways that I can manage stress better? What are some ways that I can control the stress response? Those are the questions you want to start asking yourself, because if you ask that question in that way, then it becomes something that you can find a solution to. Because if you say, well, how do I, manage all my stress? Well, you don't want to manage all your stress. Some of
Right.
it's already manageable.
Right.
Okay, you want to manage the stress response, and you want to manage your perception of your stress, and you want to manage the unmanageable stress and find solutions for that. So that means controlling the stress response you can do through developing a meditation practice, through a
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness practice, which is being present into the present moment, through healthy nutrition, through exercise, through sleep hygiene and modification, through social support or counseling. So there's a lot of different tools that we have to help us gain control of that stress response, and also get more knowledge in our minds and bodies so that we can actually manage it.
Right. And I have to admit though, meditation was probably the biggest thing that helped me a lot, was
Mm-hmm.
just to stop and breathe, because it was getting to the point where it was the physical symptoms where I'm like, okay, I'm getting aches and pains in certain parts of my body. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit nauseous or dizzy, but is this what's really happening? Is it me just imagining this stuff that's happening, or is this what's really happening to my physical symptoms, that I'm probably not eating enough, or is it stress? But I have to admit though, if I'm stressed out, I'm thinking, okay, it's because of this, this, and this, and I go back in time, I think, oh, this is what's stressing me out, and I don't want to exacerbate that by making the story bigger than it actually is, if that makes sense. You know,
Correct.
so
Again, that's the mind creating more unmanageable stress.
precisely.
Right? So when you meditate, the actual physiological response for meditation is the relaxation response, which is the exact opposite of the stress response. So again, if you put in your mind, I need to control the stress response, then you say, okay, well, let me then figure out how to control the stress response. So you meditate,
Right.
you see? But if you said, I need to control stress, well, that's very, huge. But if you say, I need to control the stress response, that's manageable.
Right.
Because
So
you can meditate.
right. So in other words, it's like saying, well, if I'm feeling some stress, I got to let my body just do its job, versus me trying to think of a way out of it.
Well, the thing is you're never going to be able to think your way out of anything
Right.
unless you have access to your higher thinking centers and you're calm, right? Anytime you have an emotional attachment to anything, you're not going to be able to think clearly,
No kidding.
because your emotions want something to be better so that you can feel better. But if you are objective about something and you can find solutions, then by all means use your brain to think about something. But most of the time, if you're anxious or depressed or, emotionally connected to something, you're not going to have access to those brain centers or objectivity. So there's no point in thinking about something. You have to calm the stress response first.
Right.
Once you've calmed the stress response first and you've come into a place of balance and awareness, or the relaxation response, you now have access to those brain centers. You have access to the knowledge, you have access to socialization and asking for support and things like that, which disappear when you're under that emotional distress.
Right. So in terms of meditation, I just want to stick with that one, because I think a lot of listeners do like to meditate. But how do you know when you're actually in a state of complete calm, when you're, I guess you would say, like, your subconscious mind is kind of working about maybe 10.5 wave cycles? Like, how do you kind of know when you're in that state of mind where it's like, okay, I'm quote totally relaxed? Like, would you say that you take like 3 or 4 breaths first and then lie down and do your meditation? Are you thinking of maybe like a light coming in to help you out?
I don't think it matters. I think it matters what people find works for them. I don't think there is a right way. And I mean, that's part of Dr. Benson's studies, is that, the relaxation response is simply a physiological response where the mind and the negative chatter is quieted down, that the the cortisol levels have gone down, the adrenaline levels have gone down, the breathing rate has decreased, the muscle tension has decreased, and there's no one right way to get there. You can do it through yoga, you can do it through a mindful walk through nature, you can do it through mindful breath focus, you can do
Hmm.
it through transcendental meditation, visual imagery, qigong, tai chi. The list is goes on. It just really needs some type of repetitive focus and a passive mental attitude, and uh, usually a quiet environment. A lot of people, if they lie down, fall asleep, so that doesn't count. So some people need to do a meditation in motion, or they need to be sitting while they're doing it. Again, it's not a right way. I mean, I work with people with all different kinds of ways until we find something that works. And then one thing that works one day might not work another day, but certainly developing a practice is important.
Now, how come that happens where something works one time and it just doesn't work the second time? Is it just because they may have just find it too tiring or too boring, or?
Well, that's the whole thing. I think it comes with self-discipline, and you have to have a practice and move through the judgments of boring or, uninteresting. I think that there's some times when, let's say you just have too much energy, too wired, and you
Mm,
need to go do some physical movement first. So, which is, one of the things with yoga, people do the physical poses first before they do the relaxation piece of the meditation. So there's something to be said about moving the energy first before you do a sit down meditation.
right,
So
I see.
it's
Yeah.
just, sometimes you need to find clarity, and sometimes you just need to, lose yourself in a meditative state. So, you can use the different meditations as tools, but in general, you want to develop a practice where you work through the discomfort of not liking something, and do it,
Right.
just like exercise.
And I was gonna. That was my next point here, because I've seen this happen with a few people, especially near and dear to me. That uh, especially nowadays, it's so easy just to get caught up in watching like Netflix and just binge watch. And I'm kind of guilty of that too. I'm not gonna lie. But there's a point in my body, in my internal mechanism, that says, because I've played sports my entire life, it says I have to keep moving. And maybe I've got a bit of form of ADHD, I don't know, but I got to keep moving. But I tell you, there's a period in my life where I was stagnant, that's that state of like being in
Hmm.
homeostasis. And I didn't realize just how debilitating that can be when you're not moving, you know. How important is it really to just, if you don't feel like moving but you got to move something, like how important is that before you get to that state of where it becomes
Well,
toxic?
I think people need to think about how our ancestors evolved. Did they sit around watching something for a long period of time? I mean, our bodies, and I really just, I don't even like the diagnosis of ADHD,
Right.
because why are we giving people that diagnosis when we were meant to live in nature, and we would have been dead if we didn't have ADHD,
Right.
right? If you weren't
That makes
alert and
sense. Yeah.
aware of every sound and every nuance that came in, you'd be dead.
Right.
To be able to hyper focus yet be able to be aware of something else. It's about being able to have relaxed alertness, not
Hmm.
not stressed alertness. So
Right.
I think it's a term that's being given to people because they're not living in the mold of living in a society where you do nothing. And I think what people need to realize, that you are a human body that's meant to move. You're meant to
Yes.
be out in nature, and you're meant to be moving your body, not sedentary. So
Right.
if you do what's not natural to the body, it's going to be in stress and under unmanageable stress, which is going to cause more problems, more inflammation, and so on and so forth.
And I've seen it too many times with people, and it hurts sometimes. But so it's one of those things that I just can't go up to them and say, dude, you need to get up and start moving, right? Because some people just won't. But here's a question though for you: when if someone's in that, has a person that they love so very much, and you see them, they're not moving, that some movement would help, maybe alleviate some stress or whatever else is going on in their mind. What would be one way to kind of get them motivated? I mean, I understand the idea of like working on yourself first, so that you provide that sort of hinted influence, so that people would either latch onto it and change, or not. What would be some advice for someone out there who has someone that they love and that they want to see them, to de-stress?
Well, the first thing is just getting them to do something that they might like, right?
Right.
If people are not going to like it, they're not going to do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
even if you can get them to go for a mindful, gentle walk for, 5, 10 minutes, um, or go, a lot of people enjoy dancing. So you get
Yeah.
them to a dance class or some type of dance something. So first of all, it's finding something that they would find joy with and
Right.
then getting them to do it.
I love that response. That was perfect. Yeah, because sometimes it can be hard where you want to help them. You see what they need, but they're like, I don't want to do that. So yeah, I agree with you. That's a good idea to see what they like first versus just saying, no, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. No, I really like that. So that's a great response actually, because I know that feeling. I know that feeling where you don't want to do anything. You're just sitting there doing nothing, and people are telling you get off your butt and do something, but it's not my time. But it is
Right.
nice. It is nice to for you to say that out loud, because I think some people do need to hear that it's okay to reverse a little bit. It's not just about you, it's about them. So let's see what they like. Yeah, I do like that a lot. With me today is Dr. Eva Selhub, and she has 3 books. Her first one, that was, I believe, was your brain on nature. The next one was the love response, and her newest book is called Your Health Destiny. Now you've been with your practice for almost 20 years now with medicine and whatnot. So what made you want to write your books, especially your last one, Your Health Destiny, which I love the cover, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna buy that book because it just feels right. And when I started talking to you the first time in Tofino, like I had that connection where I could understand you, and that we're relatively on the same page of how we approach life. But tell us more about your Health Destiny.
So Your Health Destiny is a, culmination of my more than 20 years of working in medicine. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically, I've been working in medicine since 1994. So it's a long time. It's 23 years of working in medicine and alternative medicine and spiritual healing and resiliency training and fitness and everything that you could imagine. So it's
Right.
my personal work, my personal journey, along with the work that I've done with my patients and all my clients, all together in a book. So what it does is it fuses together science and spirit, any information you really need to know about stress, neuroplasticity, epigenetics, as well as anatomy, how doctors think and look at the body. And then it also looks at spiritual medicine and wisdom traditions, how they view the body, how they would work on healing, and putting it together to give the reader the tools that they can use on their own to heal themselves. And
You
it
know, and
covers nutrition, meditation, exercise, etc.
I love that idea that we can heal ourselves, because I believe that the body has that capability. It has to, right? And but I think a lot of people are still, in the dark, that they feel like, oh no, I just have to get some treatment with chemotherapy or something else, like with a pill. But how far away are we, do you think, with what we're doing and helping people, become balanced? Do you think we're going to need another maybe like 3 or 4 generations before people can kind of get a good understanding of it, or are we still sort of in the early stages of transformation?
It's still early. I think that this look, people have to want to make a choice. It's really a whole cultural paradigm shift
Mm-hmm.
of, rather than looking to doctors to fix them, to choose to participate in their own well-being and go to the doctors or healthcare providers when necessary, but otherwise understand that you wouldn't have to go there if you were actually taking care of yourself, and that's a choice.
That's true.
And so it's a whole cultural shift, and that's going to take time.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you being here with me today, and and you're doing such a wonderful job, and I love the fact that we met, and that I think I believe that it starts with healing ourselves first, and also if we do decide to procreate. I myself, I don't have children yet. However, if I do have children, I would definitely teach them that you can heal yourself, that you can feel better. And my philosophy is that you're allowed to feel better. right? It's your God-given right to feel better. If you're feeling good, try to feel even better. If you're feeling bad, well, just try to feel a little bit better. Just try to get to that balance as you're talking about. But yeah, I really appreciate your time with me today, Doctor. I hope we can do this again sometime in the near future. If you want to find Dr. Eva Selhub, where can they find you, Doctor?
They can go to my website, which is drselhub.com. That's drselhub.com. And they can also find me on my Twitter feed, the Facebook feed, and I think an Instagram feed.
Awesome.
So I'm on all the social media venues, and they can go to YouTube, and there's a bunch of videos and guided meditations on YouTube.
Oh, excellent. You know what? I'm going to have to get some of those links and have a look at that and give that a try. My sister and my girlfriend, we love doing that kind of stuff. But don't forget your books. So we got to put that in there too. So you've got Your Brain on Nature, The Love
Your
Response.
Help Destiny, and The Love Response. They can all be gotten on Amazon.com, on Kindle, BarnesandNoble.com.
Excellent.
I believe. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you again, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank all of you for joining us today on my podcast. I always have a fun time talking with people who have like minds, and we're all trying to help each other out because that's all we have. We just have this moment. So go out and do your best. Do the best that you can and help as many people as you can, because this is what life is all about. Before I go, I have included a chapter in a book called Positive Mental Attitude, which comes out on June the 25th, and I'm really excited about it. By the time you hear this podcast, it's probably going to be already on Amazon, but look for it. It should be in Kindle form, Positive Mental Attitude. I can't wait for that to come out, and I believe the book is going to come out probably in maybe a week or so after that. But in the meantime, remember, ignite your inner power and watch your world change, and we'll talk soon. Take care.